It is clickbait season in the college football world, and that means you're going to hear a lot of the words way too early top 25. We're talking about one such list, and it is it's bad. But I guess Georgia fans might be happy with where we ended up. More on that today on Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time, more on them in a moment. Download the complete Game Time app today. He is Daniel. I am Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen. And loyal third segment listeners that stay all the way to that loyal third segment, who are the 199. We appreciate you.
Love y'all
so very, very much. You guys are the best. Real quick before we get into today, because it is talking season. There is no other season to be had. There is not a single football being kicked, punted, thrown, caught, nothing. Just
Area one.
Radio silent.
And even
everywhere.
if we wanted to talk about Georgia basketball, they were off this week. So there's not like
no.
Well, some would argue they've been off for the last couple weeks.
It's been a PTO type season.
Well, unpaid. Unpaid.
I think checks are still being cashed. Daniel, still. Before we do that, I just wanted to get to a couple of YouTube comments. Daniel, we were talking about explosive.
Boy, this is a favorite segment on the show. People love this banter.
Andrew Jones, by the way, which if you're
Andrew Jones, greatest center fielder to ever play the game,
should be in the Hall of Fame. If you want explosive runs, may I suggest Taco Bell? Is his comment.
Andrew, point heard, point received, point taken.
Somebody else, John Cox, says Carson is pretty good, but has weaknesses, tends to panic under pressure. If Alabama DBs could have caught the ball, we could have had 3 or 4 interceptions. Officials bailed him out of interceptions at Tennessee. John, just really quick, no one on the planet agrees with you.
I can't imagine that they do, but it's
great
to have opinions.
I love you enough to tell you no one on the planet agrees with you. Okay. John, I love you. Thank you for being here. 199. Let's talk about it. Daniel alluded to a hack news organization. Like there are some good news organizations out there. They're good. They're fantastic. Then there's some who are hacks. This top 25.
Like no longer relevant in any way. The only reason that you're still tuning in is because A, they broadcast the games that your teams are playing in and you have no other choice. And B, nostalgia from your childhood. Those are the only two reasons that you're still there.
$6.8 million buying the college football playoff is the only reason you still watch ESPN. Other than that, it's a hack. There is no news, no broadcasting, no insight, no input. It's a joke. Yeah. Okay. They put ahead a top 25 of way too early college football. And Daniel, up and down the list, it's not just 1 or 2 spots that are.
No, there's a lot of interesting things. So I'm going to read through the top 10 real quick, and then I'm going to give you my most interesting takeaway from that. Georgia Bulldogs come in at number 1 in the preseason poll. This is put out by Mark Schleibaugh, by the way. Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4, Notre Dame 5, Ole Miss 6, Missouri 7, Penn State 8, Alabama 9, Utah 10. Okay. I don't think we're going to get past the top 10 today.
No, we can't.
Let me begin here. I don't even agree with Georgia at 1.
I was just going to say, let's start at 1.
I don't even agree with that. And Georgia fans, Alabama fans, I know will be surprised to learn that, 2 noted Georgia homers who only ever say positive things about the Georgia Bulldogs don't think that we should be the number 1 ranked team in the country going into this season. I don't. I just, quite frankly, I don't know that, and I'm just going to start saying it now. You're going to get tired of me saying it by the end of the offseason. There's no reason other than faith in Kirby Smart, which I get is a real thing. There's no reason that you can point to that gives me any sort of hope that this defense is going to be remarkably better than it was last year. And last year, it was by Georgia standards. Now, not by national college football standards. So I'm not saying that. But by Georgia standards, by championship standards, the defense last year for Georgia was not average, not adequate. It was poor.
Abysmal.
We lost 3 of our best players on that defense in Javon Bullard and Kamari Lassiter and Tyke Smith. 3 of our best players. Notice I did not say other names of people that we lost because sometimes it's addition by subtraction. But we did lose 3 of our best players, and there's no reason other than, again, faith in Kirby Smart, which I understand, that you would point to and say this is the reason that defense is going to be markedly better. I get that Trevor Etienne is big. I get Carson Beck coming back is big. I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about this team as a playoff team, but preseason number 1, I just don't see it for Georgia, Clint.
There are other teams. So I think the question is, we're going to get to the other teams where they should be ranked. What's the highest you would rank Georgia in the way too early? Not saying where we think we will end up, but just based on being a preseason top 25 list. You have to be realistic. You're not saying here's where I think they're going to finish or whatnot. What's the highest you would put them?
I don't think you can rank Georgia lower than 5th and be able to sleep at night. Like, I'm not saying that Georgia should plummet in this poll. But I think in the 3 to 5 range is where I would have Georgia if I were making.
I think the highest I can go is 3. I can't put them at 1. I can't put them at 2 because I think other teams have added more talent than Georgia has. I didn't say they're more talented on the team as a whole. I think other teams have added more talent and already had some good things going. And Georgia showed last year, like we've already commented, the defense was not good to our standard. We lose the best college football player on the planet, Brock Bowers. We have a number of notable guys coming in, but no, number 1, we lost to Alabama in the SEC. We didn't even make the playoff. So you can't be number 1 if you didn't make the playoff.
The defense was very poor. And in the SEC championship game, the offense didn't perform up to the standard on a team that the offense absolutely had to perform well for this team to win. And so, there's a lot of other absolutely crazy things about this top 10 that we're going to get to in a moment. But first, we want to let you know about these.
Somebody who has fair expectations for their life is Game Time. Game Time knows exactly what they bring, and it's a quality product. Because right now, Game Time is the place you're going to go for last-minute tickets. Daniel and I use them. We have research. We did the stupid game of trying to figure out how many browsers we can have open and going through all the list of all the tickets to try to time it. And we found out that Game Time is, in fact, the best for ticket prices last minute. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, you get $100 off when you buy Big Game Ticket. Vegas 100. That if you bought the big game ticket, guess what? You keep that code and you get it. If you didn't, the game's over. So sorry, can't do it anymore. But you can get last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Easy to find tickets for every kind of event in your area. Views from all seats in the venue. Lowest price guaranteed. Game Time has deals on tickets right now up to the start of the event and even an hour past it. It's past an hour when it starts. It's the place to find last minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time right now. All Game Time users get $100 off Big Game Ticket with Vegas 100. Terms apply. Just download the Game Time app and use promo code Vegas 100. Or if you're going to go to the game, use Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's get to the lunacy of the rest of the ESPN because Georgia should not be 1, 3, 4, 5. Have no qualms with. That's right where we should be. We have Carson Beck coming back. We have a number of notable offensive weapons coming back and a defense that should be just hope and prayer and fingers crossed. Kirby, as Daniel said, should be better, but we don't know yet. We'll have to see.
Let's talk about something else, Clint. 5 of the top 10.
Yeah.
In fact, 5 of the top 9 are SEC schools. And fifth among them at number 9 is the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
Fifth in the SEC is where they have the Alabama Crimson Tide ranked heading into this season. Now, I know it's still a top 10 ranking, but behind Georgia, behind Texas, those two things are hard to argue, right? Alabama behind Georgia, behind Texas, that's hard to argue, okay? But now we have Alabama additionally behind Ole Miss and behind Missouri in the AP in the way too early top 25.
In the SEC, much less the top 25. I mean, we're going to get to the Lions at 8.
Yeah. We're just talking about SEC schools right now.
Okay. So Clint, you're going to tell me, you tell me.
Is Alabama going to finish 5th in the SEC this year?
This unequivocally no.
Nope. No way, no how.
2 or 3, yes. Sure. I easily can see that.
Alabama fans, lean in here.
No.
The dynasty is over. It's done.
You're not going to come back.
The dynasty is over. Okay? It's boop. You hired Kalen DeBoer.
That sealed the deal.
DeBoer hired Ryan Grubb.
No, sorry. He didn't.
He did.
But
he did hire him.
Okay, but he didn't cash a paycheck.
Well, then what had happened is Ryan Grubb was like, "Ooh, parlay that into an actual job that I'm interested in." The dynasty's over.
Yeah,
but and it was an atrocity of an offseason for Alabama. Okay,
everywhere.
Like we're talking about pets' heads falling off. But if you think, as a Georgia fan, as a college football fan, as any type of fan, if you think Alabama is just going to roll over and die, if you think that this team is not going to win football games, you are an idiot, and you cannot be helped.
No.
The dynasty is over, but Alabama's still going to be good.
Now, for those of you who want to say, well, when Mark Richt was let go and Kirby came in, Georgia's expectations needed to come down. He didn't win instantly. So Alabama has a little bit of that. They have to expect that. They have to know that. They're going to take a hit. No, okay, first of all, Georgia never, under Mark Richt, ascended the heights that they did with Nick Saban. Never had the roster that Nick Saban did, period.
Okay, understatement of the millennium.
I'm trying to speak to those who are making parallels to when Kirby Smart came in, right? I'm trying to educate that.
Yeah.
There was nothing similar about that. But if you were to take the percentage drop that from Rick to Kirby, and you apply that to Saban and DeBoer, they're not going to finish 5th in the SEC. Just extrapolate it over. 3rd or 4th, maybe rock bottom, maybe.
Yep.
But 5th, Missouri has more to replace than Alabama does. Missouri lost 2 starting corners, a starting linebacker, and a defense.
Alabama's going to make the college football playoff. Alabama is going to make the college football playoff.
Go to the window and go twice.
They're not going to win it because, and again, lean in here, Alabama fans. The dynasty is over. But they're not going to, it's not like they're not going to finish in the top 12. It's not like they're not going to make the playoff. It's not like they're not going to be one of those 5 or 7 at-large teams or whatever it is that's going to make that playoff. They're not finishing 5th in the SEC. They're not finishing behind schools like Missouri. I get it that it's easy to overreact to Nick Saban leaving. And on a macro level, I think all of that overreaction is warranted. I think it's all appropriate because I do think the Alabama football program, 1, will never be the same, and 2, made a really bad hire this offseason, and in 2 years is going to have to pay the price for that really bad hire.
I was just going to say, he's not going to be DeBoer. Even if you think the dynasty's coming back, DeBoer is not the coach to get you there.
Yeah, that's why I said the dynasty is over. There might be another dynasty for Alabama.
Sure.
So don't hear me say Alabama as a football program is like dead in the water. Like Alabama's not going to turn into, Tennessee,
Florida,
for example. Like they're not going to, morph into an absolute just lame duck college football program.
But what if you had to beg donors to give to your NIL collective to try to do something, Daniel?
Please give money to this sinking ship. Please throw your cargo aboard this ship that you can actively watch going down in the water. Like, why? Why would I do that, Clint? So, Alabama's dynasty is over. There might be another dynasty later. They made a terrible hire. Yeah. None of that means that this team is going to be bad. This Alabama team is not going to finish that low. All right. There's plenty more to discuss in this top 10. Our most egregious positioning in the top 10 coming up for the loyal third segment listeners right after this.
But first, one thing about FanDuel. FanDuel, get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Let's talk egregious, Daniel. Yes, let's talk horrible and criminal. And you, sir, should have every ability to publicly share your opinion stricken from you for these thoughts. Okay?
Yeah. Where do you want to go, Clint?
I want to start with, I already alluded to it. How do you allow Penn State to be anywhere near a playoff football team today? Again, I'm not extrapolating out. Who the heck knows what's going to happen in the season? I'm with you, college football fan. The season's weird. You can tell me Penn State might be 8.
I know what's going to happen in the college football season.
Go ahead.
Who the coach over there at Penn State? They get a new coach, or they still?
No, it's the same guy who took a mighty powerhouse Vanderbilt to the top of the SEC rankings. It's still him who can't coach a quarterback or develop wide receivers or an explosive offense to save his life. Still him.
So they still got James Franklin over there. And
he's still there.
Let me try to think about James Franklin and what he does as a coach. Oh, yes. Now I remember. He beats bad teams, and he loses to good teams exclusively. Like, that's what he does. Now, let me ask you this about the Big Ten, Clint.
Okay.
They got the same number of good teams as they did last year, or they adding some additional good teams to the mix of schools? They're like, I don't know, maybe number 3 in this very poll, Oregon. Like, how's the Big Ten doing in terms of adding talent to the top tier there? James Franklin, is he going to beat those teams?
No, like just going up and down his own conference. Okay, like you already said. Aforementioned Ohio State, aforementioned Oregon, aforementioned Michigan. You want to tell me Michigan doesn't have a shot to? I would rather take Michigan.
You ain't gonna beat them
in that game. You ain't like
Penn State simply is not gonna beat them because James Franklin doesn't beat those teams. He doesn't win those games.
That's not what he does.
Period.
It's not what he does.
It's laughable to put him.
It's laughable that you have Penn State anywhere near. How do you not? And we said Georgia should be 3, 4, or 5. How do you not put Ohio State number 1, Daniel, in your rankings? It's not that egregious because they're at 2, but
I mean, because Will Howard is the quarterback at Ohio State.
That's
they don't. I mean, is Will Howard better than Kyle McCord?
No,
like he might be. He's more experienced. He might be. He might be better. But he also might be worse than Kyle McCord. Like, yes, they added Caleb Downs. Yes, they added Quinshon Judkins, who might be 2 of the most talented players to hit the transfer portal this offseason Absolutely. But they've got a lot of talent coming back. Ryan Day has never not had a lot of talent on that roster. But last year, Ohio State fans will tell you, if you don't have a transit, it's a little bit of a Dabo Sweeney situation for Ryan Day. You hate to start drawing comparisons.
But when they look like a duck,
when they jump right off the page at you, it's a little bit of a Dabo Sweeney situation where does Ohio State have a generational talent at quarterback? If so, they're probably going to be pretty dang good. Does Ohio State not have a generational talent at quarterback? If so, they're probably going to be pretty good, but not a serious championship contender. That's where I'd put Ohio State this year, because Will Howard, according to no one ever, is a generational talent at quarterback.
No.
So do I think Ohio State's going to be very good this year? Yes. Do I think Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten this year? Yes. Do I think Ohio State's going to make the college football playoff? Probably the semis or the national championship game. At least the semis? Yes, I do. I would pick Ohio State to be right there in that conversation.
Yeah.
But they're not going to win it. Like, they're not a serious
Ryan Day coaching
threat, because A, it's Ryan Day coaching, and B, it's just Will Howard. Like, that was your transfer portal get at quarterback. You weren't able to A, go out and get, land like a generational recruit, or land now I know you have Chip Kelly, but come on.
By the way, Ohio State, you have to recognize you may make the semis, and if you don't win a natty this year, just know sanctions and legal recourse is coming your way. How do I know? Well, because it came Michigan's way, and Michigan had a very similar offseason to what you're doing right now, and you copied them, and you got people from A&M working for you, which real quick,
what's going on down there at A&M? They doing anything?
Zero things that are by the books. Okay, you have that. You have spent a ton of there. No, ain't no books
down there.
We handle things the old way.
They watch the movie. They don't do the books. That's not a big thing down
Sparks
there.
Notes, not even those. Not even that.
No.
You also spent all that NIL money to get players in, and your coach is on a short leash. Brought in Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly turned down a head coaching position that he already had. He wasn't in the running. He had a head coaching position. He said no to that to become OC. You've put all your chips in, and you've done some shady stuff to get there. I know, because you're copying Michigan. If you don't win it this year, just so you know, the hammer's coming down. You will have an asterisk next to your wins at some point because of what's happening. Okay. Let's continue.
You got Ohio State number one, Clint. I got Texas number one.
Yes.
That's who would be my number one in the top 25. And a lot of it has to do with Quinn Ewers, coming back. I think an Arch Manning Texas team does not move the needle for me. Now, it's not because I'm downplaying Arch's talent or thinking he's going to be a bust or anything like that. I'm just saying it's the same with a Carson Beck type situation. Am I excited about the prospect of what Gunnar Stockton can bring to the Georgia Bulldogs? Absolutely, I am. But am I thrilled that an experienced, high-level quarterback who has proven himself to be competent, more than capable, and a winner on this level is coming back? Yeah, that's what Texas has in Quinn Ewers. And so
it's going to be really interesting if Texas does well this year. If Quinn Ewers, because it will be because of Quinn Ewers. Make no mistake. If Texas does well and makes the semis, makes even a college football championship game, it will be because of Quinn Ewers. And if he does, he's lost a ton of talent in wide receiver. That wide receiver room is totally different than what it is today.
Now, I don't doubt they're going to be able to replace that talent, but it is totally different.
Just going to say I think they're going to be fine, but there is a question mark there. You cannot say definitively stamp wide receiver is going to be fine. You can't. I think they'll be okay.
Isaiah Bond is not the player that A.D. Mitchell was. Not at all.
That's the difference. A.D. Mitchell showed in championship environment to be that dude. Bond has not. So if you're telling me, don't worry, we're going to swap the two out, you're not. You've decreased value in that position immediately. If Quinn Ewers, and if Texas goes how Quinn Ewers goes, so will Texas. But it turns out that I actually do believe he's the second best quarterback in college football. I make no bones about that. Quinn Ewers is the second best quarterback in college football behind Carson Beck, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the point of this is there's no clear-cut number one. Now, so while I would not I don't think either of us would put Georgia number one, I think it's disingenuous to not be honest about the issues on the defensive side of the ball and wonder how those are going to get fixed for Georgia. But there's no I don't think coming into the season there is a clear-cut number one, the way that there has been in some previous years. Maybe Georgia has been in previous years, maybe Alabama, in decades gone by when Alabama used to be good at college football, they were clear-cut number ones preseason coming into the season. I don't think you're going to put Oregon number one.
No.
But I absolutely think by the end of the season, by the beginning of the college football playoff, Oregon could be the number one overall seed.
Let's play this game. I'm going to go to the top 10 and say teams that could be number one entering college football.
At the beginning of the college football playoffs.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Georgia. Yes.
100%.
Ohio State. Yes.
100%.
Oregon. Yes. Texas.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
Notre Dame.
Oh my gosh. We haven't even gotten here yet.
What has happened?
What? Are we doing it again?
We're doing it again. Guys, it's not Lou Holtz. It is not a movie. I know that when you were a kid, in every corner of America, Notre Dame gear was in Marshalls and JCPenney's and all the old malls, because this is not Notre. The gold has lost its luster.
We're really going to add Riley Leonard, and we're going to say that this is now a top 5 team? Be serious. There's a better chance Notre Dame does not make the college football playoff than there is that they're the number one overall seed.
100%.
I'm not saying they won't. They probably will make the college football
playoff. We've expanded the playoff. So
yes, there's a better chance that they miss out than that they're the number one overall seed.
Also, Utah's a good story. I like Utah. They won me some money. Florida last year. Again, we just whatever point you wanted to lay or give me, we were fine with that. Florida's going to lose that game. But let's be serious. Okay.
Again, we just keep going down the list. Ole Miss, not going to be the number one overall seed. Missouri, not going to be the number one overall seed. Penn State, not going to make the playoff. Alabama, not going to be the number one overall seed. Utah, not going to be the number one overall seed. Of those teams in the top 10, I think you have 4 of them that have a legitimate shot of finishing the season finishing the regular season as the number one team in the country, the number one overall seed in the college football playoff. Now, again, what will that matter in terms of the playoff?
Who knows?
That remains to be seen. But I think you probably have 4 teams that have a shot at that. It'll be interesting.
It'll be wild. He is Daniel. I am Clint. This has been Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen. We'll be back next time with more Georgia football talk. See you guys then.
See ya.